Welcome everyone. In this video, we will learn about events. To create an event, simply click on this plus icon, give the event a name, and click on this save button. There are two types of the event. One is a normal event that you can trigger from code, and the another is automatic trigger event, which will be triggered on execution of any API. For example, this is the normal event. Let's create automatic trigger event, event 2, which will be triggered automatically. Let's click on this plus icon. Here you can see API categories. Means any of these type of API is being hit, this event 2 will be triggered automatically. For example, in MongoDB, add in DB, this collection and this get all API is hit, then this event will be triggered automatically. So you can add multiple APIs. For example, you want get by ID, array operations like this. Let's remove, and for simplicity, let's call it from custom API, and we have this trigger event on call of this custom API. So when this custom API is called, this event 2 will be triggered. Now let's add listeners on these events. So we have this event 1 with listener 1 and 2, event 2 with listener 1 and 2. Now let's trigger this event 1 from the code. So for that I have created one custom API to trigger the event from code side. Now here this code is saying that we want to trigger event 1 and with this event data. When we send the request, you will see the output like this. In the output we have name event 1 and it is saying it executed these two listeners, listener 1 and 2, and these are the outputs of those listeners. Now if we just want to trigger the event and we don't want any output here, we can remove this await part and it will just trigger event in the background. Now here there is a third option. You can pass array of listeners you want to execute. So we just want to execute listener 1 and we don't want listener 2 to be executed. Then in this case only listener 1 will be executed. Now in case of automatic trigger, let's go to another custom API. This API will just simply return the hello world and saying that it will trigger the event. Now to validate that, let's go to event 2, we will add console.log here. You can log using g.logger.log, but right now for simplicity we will just use this console log. Update here listener 2 and update. We have these two listeners. Now let's go back to that custom API, trigger event. So now we'll see these logs first. We don't have anything in logs. When we send that, let's check the log. It is saying world listener 1, listener 2. So those two listeners got executed. Let's hit 2 3 times. 1 2 3. We got 3 more outputs. Now let's go to that event listener and let's print the event data. g.request.event data. We'll update that We'll go back to custom API. We'll see our logs are clear. We'll send it. We'll see the logs and it is getting success true, status code 200 and inside the data. So entire full response we will get as a event data payload in event listeners. You can emit event from all the places wherever you can write the code. Event cycles being generated in the system. For example, we created event 1 and when we trigger the event 1, let's say it is triggering event 2. Event 2 is triggering event 3, and if the event 3 triggers event 2 or event 1, our API Maker system will not allow that. So you are safe in that event cycles. In API testing, you can test specific event listeners also. So you can select events from here. You can select event 2 and let's say you want to test listener 1. We can do that. Let's say if you want to provide some sample data here, like this, and when we send that, we'll get the data in response and we'll also do some logging here. And we can save and change. We can also create multiple versions of event listeners and we can activate any version at any time. Moreover, you can emit these events from API call also. For that, let's go to System APIs. Here we have this emit event API. Click on this test icon. Go to body, generate array. So we can emit multiple events from API call. Here we'll type event 1. This is event data. We can pass listeners array also, but we want to execute all the listeners. Event 2 will send the button, and in the first response object we'll get the output of event 1, and in the second one we'll get output of the event